Good evening. It's Joshua Nairmore with Realty Trust Services, here to help grow your prosperity. Now, tonight I just want to talk to you real quick about why it's a smart idea to invest in real estate in the greater Cleveland area. The first and foremost is you can buy properties relatively inexpensive. It's pretty cheap to buy homes in Cleveland, especially in Cleveland proper, and rent them out. It's pretty sound. There's a huge influx. I get calls all the time from out-of-state investors. I mean, it's huge now to invest in Cleveland. Now there is some competition for homes, but you still get them pretty cheap. And property values are increasing though, so it's another good thing. You get it on now, and you're going to be building equity just through the natural progression of how property values are rising because the economy is growing in Cleveland, and we have tech companies that are investing in the area. We have a pretty big medical industry, and even Ford is investing in the area, making bigger plans and creating more jobs. So there's a lot to be hopeful for. And probably the greatest thing about Cleveland is its people. We are some of the most loyal people in the world. There's an old joke. Why is it great to date a Cleveland girl? Why? Because he doesn't expect a ring. Of course, that's a joke on our sports teams, which we tend to be extremely faithful to, even when they're not doing good. And we pass that tradition on to our kids. You might consider that child abuse, but we love our teams here. Like, I'm a huge Browns fan. I even watched the season where we didn't win a game. It was painful, but I felt it was good for my soul. So maybe it's a lesson on marriage, on dedication. You're not always winning the games, but you made a commitment, you're gonna stick through because there's always hope. It's funny, like we even can attach, like we even have like memories attached to when one of our teams did something great. Like my youngest son, we found out we were having him. My wife was pregnant with him the day the Cavs won the championship in 2016. Like one of the greatest days of my life. I was like, how can this day get any better? We're gonna have another child, and a major Cleveland sports team won a championship. But that year we also had the Lake Erie Monsters, now the Cleveland Monsters, win the IHL championship. And Stipe Miocic won the UFC heavyweight championship. And trust me, if you're a Clevelander, you love Stipe. I have gotten into arguments with friends from other cities talking about how good of a fighter Stipe is. That's who we are. And and if you're a sports celebrity in the city of Cleveland, you could live like a king for the rest of your life. I mean, everyone's gonna love Stipe. Everyone's gonna love. I don't know if remember Bernie Kosar from the '80s and '90s as a Browns QB. That guy is a legend there. I really once went one time when I was sick. I was feeling sick as a dog, just to meet Bernie Kosar. It was my first chance to ever meet Bernie Kosar, and of course, I'm from Cleveland. I'm going. I was born in 1983. I remember I was a young kid. I remember Bernie Kosar playing, and I remember, I was so sad when the Browns got rid of him. I was devastated. Like I loved Bernie Kosar. It was. You remember. Like I remember the great times of the Browns in the '80s. Even though we flubbed it a couple of times. One time, my dad's so mad he put his foot through a wall. And I remember that, because he had a break in his foot and had this weird cast that went almost all the way up to his knee, and it was this pink and light blue, cast material. It was you know. But it was a, it was a funny moment for a kid, like, but that's how much it means to us. It's part of our identity. It's part of who we are. Why? Because we're hardworking, and our teams may not always win the championship, but they're hardworking. They put their effort in. And that's probably why we love them. Like when Baker Mayfield came to the Browns, everyone loved him, because he was this fiery guy who maybe not be this Adonis of a quarterback, and may not have the speed and the skills of other quarterbacks, but he was a gamer, and he played hard. That's why we loved him. And it's funny, like I remember in the 90s when the Cleveland Indians were doing amazing. I mean, it was, but I also remember when they were doing terrible and the games were really cheap to go to. But, it was just, I mean, there's so much city pride. Then you go somewhere outside Cleveland, see someone wearing a Cleveland hat, and you're like, yeah, dude, are you from Cleveland? And like, no, I just like the team. We're like, hey, that's fine by me. We're on the same team. But I mean, like, the majority of my hats now, like I wear, usually wear these pretty much blank hats. But the majority of my hats, honestly, I have a few still in storage right now, are Cleveland related hats. Like, my mom went to Ohio State. I love Ohio State. Of course, I got their national championship hat. Of course I do. And these are just what I have sitting out right now. Like, I have this old school Cleveland hat. I still have a couple of Chief Wahoo on them. I have a Cavs championship hat. I have two hats from when the Browns won their first game with Baker Mayfield, where they gave out hats before the game, and I have a couple of them still. There was the one where Bud Light, donated a bunch of fridges to a bunch of bars, and they were going to be the fridge would be locked up until Cleveland finally won the game. And yeah, it was an amazing game, and this whole city was united. Everyone high-fiving each other, like you would have thought world peace had broken out. It was that amazing, And I was there at the game, and we were, I was there at the time I was an associate / pastor apprentice of a church, and I was there with the head pastor, and we, we're walking, after the game, we're walking around giving high fives. I mean, people were hugging us in the stands, and we were hugging other people. It was amazing. That's the heart you get from the people in Cleveland. We work hard, and we just we really do the best we can with what we got. And I think we got a lot. I mean, we got great neighborhoods, we have great restaurants, we have great people, and you have all this, and the finances make sense. So the question is, why shouldn't you? That's what you got to ask yourself, because the evidence is there. You should. So, this is I could go on and on, talk about all the great people that has come from Cleveland, like Paul Newman, the actor, Bob Hope. I mean, I'm kind of making myself seem old with all these old guys I'm bringing up who are no longer with us. But, Cleveland is a great place. And you have great people. And so, helping you grow your prosperity, I'm going to encourage you, invest in Cleveland. There are plenty of homes, and there are plenty of people who need good landlords, to provide a good home for some of the most hardworking people in America. This is Joshua Nairmore with Realty Trust Services, helping you grow your prosperity, and I'll be seeing you soon. Have a good night.